Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Let's see, did those earbuds connect? Hey, sister, how you doing?
Hey, sister. I hear you just fine. I'm not sure if they connected on your end or if you're just speaking through the camera on the laptop.
Oh, who knows? Let me make. I'll see how I can make it work. Let's see. Ding, 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 ding.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
No,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
that sounds differently.
Yes, does it sound sharper?
Louder.
Louder. Oh, well then maybe I should modulate my tone. Well, hello, sister. How are you?
Hi, Jody. Miss you as well.
Yay. What's going on, Jody Joe? Well, sister, how you doing? You ain't
I
saying
did.
nothing.
We had already passed that. I said I'm doing fine, but we were talking about these earbuds. I'm doing great, sister. How are you?
Oh, I am doing great. So it is November 27th, and tonight is just us, y'all. So we hope that you are ready for some thought-provoking conversation, maybe a little foolery and fun, and also, some hot topics to go along in there. So we want you to join the conversation in the comments tonight. Make sure
Hey,
you let us.
Sunny Dawn. I'm sorry.
What's up?
I was so excited to see Sunny this weekend.
Oh, all right. Join the conversation in the comments. Like, follow, share, subscribe. But go ahead and tell them what you saw Sunday doing this weekend, because we all know you're not even repping today. I'm surprised. After a win, you're not even repping. What?
I mean, I was repping at the Bayou Classic itself. So therefore, I don't have to rep today. Everybody knows what happened. We know what it is. They know what it is.
Well, for those
Congratulations
who might not
other
know,
University Jaguars for defeating in fine fashion. It took a minute. It was definitely, if it was an old beat up car, it took a long time to get revved up. But
once it got revved.
once it got revved and see, it's all good. We friends and stuff again with the Grambler Knights. But congratulations to the Southern University Jaguars. As Sonny's has says, we always rep in all we do because we are winners and all we do is win. I just added a little more, but that's what she meant.
Okay. Well, I'm just typing this because I don't know about the last part.
Oh, all
'Cause
we do is win. I'm not saying that's in life. That has nothing to do with the game. All we do is win in life.
well, congratulations to Southern University on 49th Bayou Classic victory. And I noticed that yesterday. I watched a little bit of it here at home, and I was like, oh wow. Next year is the 50th Bayou Classic. I think that's going to be a part of our HBCU tour. How about that? I know you want me to come to homecoming with you, but
Yeah.
we got to do homecoming and the Bayou Classic.
Yeah, so get your coins together, girl.
Oh, the coins is going. Listen, if y'all got some work for me, come on and hire me. The sister gonna need all the coinage for next year because next year is a big year. And as we studied in Sunday school this morning, it's my Jubilee year. I gotta be at the Jubilee Bayou Classic next year as well. Come on now.
Yes.
So hire this sister, get her some work so I can be in all the places I'm gonna need to be next year.
Yes, or get us some sponsorship dollars so that Hey Sister can go on the HBCU tour.
Yes. All right. I'm putting it here in the comments. So y'all reach out to us. Let us know. We want to do our own HBCU tour. I want to do our own HBCU homecoming tour in 2023. So we're putting it out there. We're speaking it into existence. How about that?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, Miss Debbie. Yes, I see you like that. Yes. Well, in typical Hey Sister fashion, we're going to start off this evening with a few hot topics. So again, Body Classic was a hot topic. Um, but what struck me on yesterday, and it kind of took my breath away, was learning of the transition of one Irene Cara, and remember my name. That came into my mind, and
Mm.
that when she sings that song in Fame, when I'm down and feeling blue, I close my eye and I think of you. I like all of the songs. Like, I was 7 years old when Fame came out, and everybody wanted to be Coco. Like, Coco was the girl. um, but it just took my breath away. I love Sparkle. I love the original Sparkle. Um, and to see that at, to me, a young age, at 63, transitioning. Don't know all the details yet, but it kind of took my breath away because I have not been watching the news. And I'm a news junkie. And I had
Mhm.
not been watching the news since Thanksgiving. So I don't know. Rest in power, Queen. Thank you for your contributions to the culture, and giving so much of yourself to us in your artistry.
Yes.
I don't know what you have to say,
I,
sister.
I just have to say yes. When I saw the news, it was kind of shocking, but it was also just a lot of disbelief because Irene Cara is one of those people that talk about it girls, right? I mean,
Hmm.
from Broadway, dance, television, all obviously singer. Like she was a multi hyphenate for sure. And 63 is hella young, especially as I get older. So it was very shocking, but it was also one of those things where you're like, you know, people kind of, I mean, I'm sure her family and friends obviously, but people seemingly kind of ride off into the sunset sometime, and
Hmm.
you maybe inadvertently don't think about them, and then when something like this happens, it's like that's when you realize, like, Irene Cara, like, she hit on so many levels. She was an it girl for real. And
Hmm.
so, I mean, I just remember, you said you were 7 when Fame came out. So I'm guessing I would have had to be around 3 or 4. And I just remember always, you know, not knowing all the details, but just being in the house and always dancing and um, mimicking her in that role on Fame. So rest in power, like you said, to
Yes,
an icon for real.
an icon for real. And her music, I mean, just the theme from Flashdance alone, I mean, will go on
Right.
forever and ever as a song of empowerment, right? For women and for all people. So rest in power, Queen. And again, we thank you for your contributions to the culture. Um, and this is kind of a weird transition, but not in
It was
that
it was kind of weird from the HBCU conversation as well. No
it
worries.
was, but I'm just trying to I'm trying to pace us out well for this evening.
Hmm.
Um, but this other news story, and it has, for the last several weeks, I think we might have touched on it a couple of weeks ago, just really briefly. But this case, about Shanquilla Robinson, a young woman, I believe 25
Okay,
years old.
sister. Here we go. Spectrum.
What?
Oh, okay. Keep talking. Okay, there you go.
Oh,
You may need to take. I took my background off because it's slowing you down. So you said a
oh,
case about, and it went out for me. So I don't know if you want.
oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry. Well, Shanquilla Robinson was, the Mexican authorities, like an update on the case. Shanquilla Robinson is a young woman who was on vacation with what was supposed to be, I guess, friends,
Mhm.
and she was murdered. Um, and it was videotaped and shared, um, via social media. Those friends came back and reported multiple different stories to her parents as to why she did not return with them and about her death. Nonetheless, as of now, Mexican authorities are pursuing this case and has asked for a female. They didn't name the person in this article, and they haven't named it in the warrant, but has asked that person, the other woman there, to be extradited back to Mexico to stand trial. And we haven't really talked a lot about this. Um, there will be a continuation of this theme around kind of this acts of violence in our society, or people with having no emotional regulation and not even being able to have conversations and dialogue, and everything is escalated to this nth degree. But what happened here? And since I know we've traveled with friends, this just seems so surreal, unreal. I don't get it. And if y'all tell us what y'all think in the comments. I would just love to hear from folks who are watching right now. Or if you watch it in replay, drop a comment in, because we want to definitely comment on it.
Yeah, I can tell you, for me, it is scary. I remember many years ago, when there was the Natalie Holloway case. And because I was having a conversation about this with the Shanquilla Robinson case. And so I was happy that you told me that there was an update and someone was actually being extradited back to Mexico, because um, you know, I'm no attorney, so I could be completely wrong, but I didn't see a path for justice for her unless the Mexican government got involved. Um,
Mm.
and and I just remember the Natalie Holloway case. I always think about that when I travel. This whole idea of, you have friends and you go off with your friends. The expectation is, if they're your friends, you come back the same way you left. And you know, I remember with that guy, I can't remember his name, Jordan something, I think Vanderpool. Is that, am I making that up? I don't want to call the wrong name. So
I
anyway,
can't remember the name. Yeah.
um, he, him. It wasn't until he got in trouble again, and there was another suspicious situation where there was even a modicum of justice for Natalie Holloway. And so I think, even when I remember going to Aruba myself, I remember thinking, like, yeah, if you're not careful, anything can happen, right? If you're not careful, if you're not mindful of who you are hanging out with, where you're going, and what you're doing. And so with something like this, you should be able to go on vacation and actually relax around people
Mm-hmm.
that you've had a relationship with, and to not have an opportunity as a young woman to go on vacation with people you deem to be your friends and be safe. That is very scary. That is very scary, because we often, the first thing we say is like, oh, when a woman will say, especially a young woman, a young Black woman, I'm going to go on vacation alone, because there are a lot of Black women who have been doing solo vacations. When they do that, it's like, oh, you're not scared, you're not concerned. Oh, what about safety? So to think that she went with a group of friends and it ended her life, that seems horrifying for me.
Absolutely horrifying for me as well. I don't know
And his
what you
name was
all.
Joran. I'm sorry, Joran Vandersloot was the guy in the disappearance of Natalie Holloway.
Yes. Thank you for looking that up
Mhm.
and adding that name, because we don't want to name the wrong people,
Yeah,
child. We don't want
yeah,
nobody coming after us.
correct.
But as you think about this Shanquilla Robinson case, and for those of you who are watching now or even watching a replay, what are your thoughts? And how are you feeling as this case continues to um, unfold? And we know that our psyche here and our attention span is real short. Um, But being a woman of a certain age, thinking back over the years of my life, all I can think of is like, wow, thank God, you know. That's at least is what's in my head. Um, it's disturbing, it's distressing, and I hope that for her parents and the people who truly loved her, that there could be some healing.
Absolutely.
So we'll see how that turn out. Um, and so speaking of kind of like this violence and this continuation of violence that we see, um, shootings, shootings, and more shootings. So we had a couple more um, that have made the national news. So see, that's the thing. There's so many of these shootings that take place that don't even make the national news. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But there are a few more shootings that have made the national news. One at a that's reminiscent of the Pulse nightclub shooting here in Orlando, in Colorado at Club Q, which is seemingly an attack on LGBTQ plus community, and then another workplace violence situation at a Walmart. Um, and it's so, you know, interesting because like those people bought those guns like same day or a few days before, and it's just like astonishing to me. And I was watching another news program the other day, and they played Joe Biden saying he's going to try to pass something before this Congress ends. um and the likelihood of something passing is very slim. But what that person was saying, the news personality, and I would love to get y'all's opinion about this, was that we don't want it to change. Like as a society, we have accepted it because this is a uniquely American issue. It's a unique issue to the United States of America. Not that we're not violence, not that mental illness, not that people don't have, but these mass shootings on a daily basis, pretty much. Um or just the daily acts of gun violence is a uniquely American thing. And have we just are we complacent? Have we just accepted and are is this how you want to live? I don't know, sister. It's just I don't want to live this way, and I don't know anybody who does. What are your thoughts?
I don't want to live this way. I don't know anybody who does, but yes, we clearly are complacent and okay with it. And we demonstrate that far too often in the way the collective seems to vote and the issues that seem to percolate to the top. Um, I was having a conversation yesterday with my line sister, and we were just we were just talking about it, like how all the intersectionality of so many of these issues, right? Violence and lack of education and lack of funding in schools and lack of support from a mental health standpoint, and a lot of young people needing more than just in the classroom where they spend so much time, needing more than just um, math, science, and reading. They really need to learn coping skills and how to deal with violence and things like that. And so it's so multi-layered. And on the one hand, it often feels like there's it's no hope. There's nothing that we can do about it. So we just kind of sit back and accept some of it. But on the other hand, it's like, but if we can't do anything about it, then who can? And I really do believe that we hear so much about this violence that even though we're it's saddening, it's hurtful, it's appalling. I'll speak for myself. I haven't written my congressperson.
Mm.
I haven't um and I would say, even if you have a political affiliation, We just had midterm elections. Who are we contacting to say, look, I just voted for you? What are you going to do about this?
Mhm.
We had an infrastructure bill that passed, and there were a number of there are police forces that receive infrastructure money that they're going to utilize it to buy more weapons, more things like that. And it's I don't violence, in my opinion, just seemingly begets more violence. So the way we're doing it this right now, it's clearly not working. Like you said, this is a uniquely American problem. So having more police officers, providing them with military weaponry, it doesn't seem to be curbing violence. And then ultimately we have a gun problem in this country because there are more guns than there are humans. So I'm not really sure what to say about it, but if we don't say something, then I don't know what happens. So it feels like it's a heavy conundrum. And like we always say, we were taught there are no simple answers to complex problems. And this is a complex problem, but like you said, it is uniquely American. So I'm not understanding why we aren't looking at what other countries are doing and replicating those things. But all I can say is ultimately, we don't want to.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I dropped in the comments the gunviolencearchive.org so you can look at the statistics and look at the data. I'm also going to drop in this PDF. It's a tool for contacting, it's a sample letter of how to write your
Oh no, she has been lost. Sample letter to your congressman. Okay, I need to check that out because obviously, hey sister, you're back.
girl. I hit the wrong button.
I was like, oh no, well, let me check out this sample letter so I can see it.
Sorry, y'all. I hit the wrong button, you know. And I'm also going to just drop in, you know, how to find your congressman, how to find your senator, um, so that you can take action. I think we all need to take action on these issues. What we do know for sure is that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And I think that most of us, we're just trying to live day to day, right? We're
Mhm.
just trying to we trying to eat a little fruits and vegetables. We trying to do a little exercise, keep our little body healthy. We're trying to go to work so we can take care of ourselves, our family, maybe save a little bit to enjoy life, go on a little vacation. We're trying to do, you know, just the basics. And it is easy to get complacent when you see these stories day after day after day, whether it's in your local community or on a regional level or on a national level.
Mhm.
We can just get really complacent in a lot of these stories. And so we don't, at Hey Sister, you know, we like to think of ourselves as women of action. So I'm going to challenge all of us as we get ready to close out this year, to maybe just take one action. And if that one action is writing, whether it's your state representative or your national representative, to say, hey, what are you going to do about this? We have to do something about it. Part of it is coping skills and people not having skills, and we're going to drop a resource for that. And even encourage you to go back and watch our old episode with Dr. Alana. Some great information there, and she has a, you know, her free resource for tools and developing skills. I'm going to drop that link here as well. Her the try stands for like the try, like we got to try.
Mhm.
um and you know, understanding how our psychology and biology work in some of these how our behavior is a result of some of these things, and how maybe we can do better, just how maybe we can do better. um let's see, we have a comment here. As my mother-in-law used to say, we are living in our last days. The heartlessness and violence seem to only escalate as time passes. This is too much to take in mentally. Absolutely. It is definitely too much to take in mentally. And that's why I dropped in the resource there from Dr. Alana, because we have to find ways in which we not only can cope, but how do we effectively shift this? How do we shift it in children and what they're exposure and exposed to? How do we say enough is enough? If we just continue to accept it, then it just continues to proliferate and I think get worse. How do we create communities of safety? How do we create enclaves of safety for ourselves and our families and those that we love? I think that there are things that we can do. We just have to start doing some things.
Yeah, and let me just say this, since the congressman from my area was reelected.
You mean the senator or the congressman? Or both of they raggedy?
The congressman, Andy Biggs, from my area was reelected. I'm not talking about where I am physically in the bunker. I'm talking about where I live. And, I have written him in the past about some HBCU stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to your point about try, we have to try something. I know that if I send him a letter or an email or anything, I'm gonna get foolishness back. I mean, I'll get a canned response and
Mm-hmm.
what have you, but we have to try something, because I just don't until people feel like these cushy, comfortable jobs that
Are at risk.
are at risk, we're never going to see anything change. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if Nancy Pelosi's husband can get attacked in his house, and because people don't like Nancy Pelosi, they don't care about it. Again, if little kids at Sandy Hook can get killed, if folks, there's literally no place from church to the grocery store to the movie theaters where these mass shootings have not happened. And I know Nancy Pelosi's husband, it was a knife attack, but the
No,
point
it was a hammer.
I mean hammer, yes. But this is one of their colleagues. And if that does not move them and motivate them to action, knowing that what if the tables turn and somebody is
Steve Scalise was shot.
Steve Scalise was shot. So it's like, if it don't matter, if
almost lost his life.
Right, and certainly is challenged in his physical body now as a result. If that don't move you and motivate you and change the way you think about guns and violence in this country, I don't know what will, but we must at least try.
We have to try, y'all. And so I think it's time for people of good conscience and people of the faith to start squeaking. So let's start squeaking. We can squeak, we could tweet, set it up on auto send and send them a barrage of letters, whatever it takes. But we need to start making some noise. And if you are a part of an organization, employ your organization. You know what? We need to make some noise and we need to take a stand. We need to say enough is enough and we're not going to take it anymore. And we are not going to support you, and we're going to call you out, and we're going to call you out again and again and again and again until you do something about it. So
Yep.
That's the only thing I could think of. So you tuned in live with Hey Sister. You can follow us on these social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. wherever you like viewing us at. If you like viewing us live on Facebook or YouTube, you can catch us every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Except for those Sundays that we do take off because we do take some breaks, okay? But you can catch us on Sunday evenings on those channels, and you also can catch us in replay on all your podcasting platforms. So if you like Spotify, find us on Spotify. You like Google, find us on Google. If you like Apple, find us there. Follow us, subscribe, tell your friends and family all about what we're doing over here at Hey Sister. And we thank you for being a part of the Hey Sister family. We really do sincerely appreciate y'all so very much. You have no idea. We thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
So I guess this next segment we can call, we talked about hot topics, but this is in our foolery category. At least it's foolery to me. So our foolery for tonight is the Georgia Senate runoff. Now, it has given us so many foolish, comic, what other word can I come up with? Astonishing, laughable items. Like even just the other day, one Mr. Herschel Walker, when he said about this erection is about the people.
Wait, what? Girl,
You
stop.
didn't see that
No.
video?
You should have prepared me in the pre-show because you did not do that. You are
Ted
failing.
Cruz on one side, Lindsey Graham on the other side, and they both look at him and they just shake their head like this when he said this erection. If y'all saw when he said the erection about the people, let me go find that video so I can post it. That when the tax documents came out that show that he is a resident of Texas. Look, early voting has begun in the state of Georgia. If you live in the state of Georgia, if you know somebody in the state of Georgia, all I'm going to say is Georgia, you deserve better. If you live in the United States of America, we deserve better. We deserve better. And as it relates to our previous topic, if we don't take a stand now, I mean, if we don't take a stand now, we will definitely, we're already on the verge of being the movie Idiocracy. We got to take a stand at some folks, y'all. So,
Yes,
I don't know.
if people who, and this is not a slight to athletes, but if people, because our father was a student athlete, and we know that he was really great at athleticism, but he also went on to be a great educator. But if people who seemingly are really well educated and they make some of the most ridiculous decisions, as I was just talking about my Congressman Andy Biggs, and this idea that anything that is trying to change gun laws is somehow an attack on the Second Amendment, and law-abiding citizens are going to be hurt or harmed. And I'm always like, if you law-abiding, why would that bother you? It wouldn't. Just like getting a driver's license wouldn't bother me to drive if I know that I'm a good driver and I'm not trying to use my vehicle to kill people. But if people who are allegedly intelligent, I mean like degreed up, make these illogical decisions about our safety, our health, our well-being, our democracy, how y'all gonna send Herschel Walker anywhere but back to his house in Texas? Like, how can you have somebody who clearly, if you don't know the difference between an election and an erection, this explains why you don't know if you've paid for abortions.
Well, since I want to ensure that my sister knows I did not make this up.
I know, I have looked it up.
Okay, you've looked it up. Okay, thank you.
Video. Do you have a video? Because I looked it up.
Let me see if I can share This video, if they gonna play it, let me make sure. Oh, I have my earbuds in, so the sound, you might not hear the audio. Let's see.
Oh,
This election is about the people. And all this election is more than Herschel Walker. This election is about the people. And I
Did you hear that?
I did. And I know it was probably a gaffe. Like, everybody makes mistakes, right? But you make so many of them so frequently.
But usually when you misspeak, your brain catches up and you realize, oh, I'm so sorry, I misspoke. Sorry,
Right.
something.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna let y'all make a decision for yourself. But I know early voting is going on now. The election day is on December 6th. I mean, people.
I swear, if I were Raphael Warnock, I know that in the streets I would be very calm and cool and collected, as I should be.
But if he's sitting up in his room like I'm doing right now,
I would
that
be
kid think about you. I'd be like, what the?
I would be so insulted that this is a thing, that I actually had to do a runoff against this fella of all the fellas. And I think that's what's so, be it Donald Trump, be it Herschel Walker, be it Sarah Palin, it's like, I am not anti-Republican Party. But are you serious that these are the best Republicans you could find? This is your, like,
elite
varsity team. Yeah, this is who you putting on the court right now when the championship is on the line. That is what's so deeply insulting. As a woman, Sarah Palin was deeply insulting to me because I knew that there was a laundry list of women in the Republican Party who were so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Herschel Walker, as a Black person, is deeply insulting.
Mm-hmm.
Deeply insulting. Because you have basically suggested that in order to beat a Black man, we have to put another Black man up against him, right?
And we gonna go get one who, yes, played college football here, but don't live here no more.
Right. And we're gonna get one who is the complete antithesis, but also who is a complete buffoon, and who it makes a mockery of all the intelligent, hardworking Black men out here. That is so insulting. And if you want to know, so have I always felt like the Democratic Party has done all the things that I feel like they should do in terms of courting the Black vote? Absolutely not. And I'm talking about the current version of the Democratic Party, not how some people try to go back, way back. But this is deeply insulting. And the question is, how do you expect to win people over by doing this kind of stuff?
Absolutely. Well, we got a couple of comments I want to put up here. Now, this was related to our previous topic, but I think it applies in this situation as well. I believe we have to do something, but I do think it is necessary to organize because we are coming against organized crime, money, interest, etc. Absolutely. Another comment says, not anti-Republican, but anti-clown.
Amen.
Absolutely. Another comment says, GOP only believes Black candidates come in 4 prototypes: formerly incarcerated, former strippers, former rappers, and former athletes. Holly, if you hear me. We got another comment here. What does it say about the state of the Democratic Party that Herschel Walker is giving them a run for their money? And so Sean, I want to address that because I don't think it says much about even the state of the Democratic Party. I think that there is in our home state of Louisiana, in my current home state in Florida. Now there are some enclaves in Florida, but outside of those those city areas like Orlando or Tampa, it is straight like cultish behavior. I know in Louisiana, all you have to do is have an R next to your name, and you at least a third of the way to being elected, because there's going to be 30% of the people who are going to vote for you regardless, just because you have an R next to your name. I mean, he's no longer because he lost his runoff. But I think about the gentleman in Arizona who was the Secretary of State um, in Maricopa County when he testified before the January 6th committee, and he said he would vote for Trump again, even though he was threatened.
You're
His
talking
daughter
about
was.
in Georgia.
No, I'm talking about the one from Arizona who was called. Yes, not Georgia. One from Arizona, the older gentleman, and he testified. He testified the same day as the one from Georgia testified.
Well, maybe not Maricopa, because Fuentes was the one in Maricopa, and he just ran for.
Well, the let me find Arizona Secretary of State.
Katie Hobbs was it. Now she's going to be governor, and Fuentes just beat Mark Fincham to be it now. So
let me find 2020. Let's see, because I can't remember the older gentleman's name. Gosh, I can't remember his name.
Anyway, but yeah.
All I'm saying is because he lost his bid and whatever position that he held, he said he would vote for him again.
Right.
After his daughter was threatened. So I think there's a lot to be said about, our politics have gotten really cultish.
Right.
Let's see, we got another comment here. GOP funds their candidates heavily in order to maintain power and control. And another comment here says, if you're willing to go along with their program, they will finance you and make sure you have the resources to win. Hey, well, I believe it.
Yeah, I believe it. I will say something. So to Sean's question, what does it say about the Democratic Party? That Herschel Walker is giving them a run for their money. In the state of Georgia, I think a lot of people forget there are some heavily, let's call them diverse areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Atlanta is one city.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe if you get where Nene Leakes from, I can't remember what city that is. Is it not Athens?
She's from Athens, where the University of Georgia is, and I'm just gonna tell you that it's not.
No. It's the other one I'm thinking about. It's the other one.
Oh, what? Duluth or Roswell or they live in
another anyway.
Alpharetta.
No, that's not what. Anyway, point is there are, but the vast majority of Georgia is Alabama, it's Mississippi, it's Louisiana. It's like, and so to your point, there's cultish behavior. So that is not the demerit on the Democratic Party. For me, the demerit on the Democratic Party is that it is unfortunate that our sister Stacey Abrams lost to Brian Kemp in Georgia. But what Stacey Abrams was able to do to deliver for the Democrats on a national level, I really strongly hope that she and the likes of Gary Chambers, who didn't beat crazy Senator John Kennedy, who he should have, from if we're just purely like up here standpoint. I mean, not talking about crackheads all the time is a good starting point, but he came in second place, and had the Democratic Party really, like Patrice is saying, had they funded him here in the state of Louisiana, if they had pushed him, if they had gotten beside him instead of endorsing 3 or 4 people, and then he could have forced a runoff, and it would have
Mm-hmm.
it the outcome might have very likely have been the same, but it would have really
Shifted.
shifted something. And what I hope he and Stacey Abrams do right now, today, tomorrow, what have you, is get together and push this voter registration, voter reinstatement, a rights reinstatement. If she does the same grassroots effort that she did for the federal elections, if they took went on a campaign across the South, they could start to shift some things, because it's too many people. Gary talked about the number of Black voters who simply, and it's not all on our backs of Black voters, but until we all show up to the polls, things are not going to change for us.
Mm-hmm.
We may be smaller in population, understood, but there are areas where we're not smaller, and our vote is needed to get some of those other races. They know they need to have at least a handful of Black people in
Mm-hmm.
order to win. So that they really need to do. I hope they get together and do a lot of this grassroots work, because there are too many people coming out of the prison system whose rights have been taken from them and they shouldn't, or they don't know what their rights are, or rights have been reinstated and that hasn't been communicated to them. There are too many people who just, because they see so many failures, they just decide I'm not even going to vote, and we can't have that. So that's what Rusty Bowers, okay, that's what I feel like was the failure, if you will. On the local level, the Democratic Party did not get behind Gary Chambers as an example, because they felt like the only person who could possibly beat a white man in the state of Louisiana was another white man.
Yeah,
And that's,
absolutely.
and
It's
so
playing
that's,
to the base. It's playing to the
and
base
that's what they're doing in Georgia,
base.
right?
Yeah.
So they're not getting behind some of their candidates in a way that they're not giving them the full force.
Yeah. I mean, it's even like how did Greg Abbott get reelected? You know, I mean, we could say the same thing about Texas. But let me show some of these comments here, and then I want to talk about this other thing because this is kind of related to that. You know, it says she talks about, Patrice says how Gary Chambers could go far. We need grassroots organizing to talk to people who have been ignored and make them feel as though their voice matters. Because it actually does. Ongoing engagement will make it easier to turn voters out when elections come around. And
Yeah.
that's a key thing, ongoing engagement. Now, if you haven't I dropped the link in there, but if you haven't heard about this Moms of Liberty organization and how they organized and basically took over the candidates that they supported for school board. And we're talking about in a majority Black area in South Carolina. And they hijacked the school board. And the first thing that they did was fire the superintendent, who was a Black one. I think a Black man, Black woman, but nonetheless. So the first Black superintendent. They terminated uh, the district lawyer. They banned critical race theory. They did all of this in their first meeting. Okay. And so this Moms for Liberty focus is on electing conservative school board members. And that's the thing that we got to understand. This starts way, 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 way down, even at the school board level,
Yeah.
in terms of this organizing. It at your sheriff,
Mhm.
at your county commissioner, or your city council, whatever is named in your area, um, at those low levels. That's where
Mhm.
it starts. And these, as Alessandra said, I'm gonna put her comment back up because I think this is key. the forces that we are organizing against, they're organized crime, money, and interest. So we need to have, what's our shared interest? What we care about, what we want to be organized about, that we actually can make a difference about.
Right.
And it starts at the lowest level.
Yeah.
It starts at the lowest level. And we need to get on it. We
Yeah.
need to get on it.
And I think,
Let's see. National Dems organizations often fail to invest in Black candidates. Their staff usually doesn't have Black folks on it, that so that cultural context is missing. Absolutely. And even those who are not their Black candidates, like, they fail to even be able to communicate to Black people, because that was part of Hillary Clinton's problem.
is it just me? Okay, hold on, sister. What did you say? Because it went out for me.
No, I said that's part of. I said that's part of Hillary Clinton's problem, because they don't have Black people on their staff, so they can't even communicate to Black people effectively.
Right.
They're organizing the ground game. It's paltry at best.
Yeah.
We got to do something.
Yeah. And again, if you think so to me, to answer Sean's question, it's not even about Herschel Walker giving them a run for their money. He has the full force of the Republican Party behind him, because they know that they can.
Because as he said, there's an erection. You have current Senator Ted Cruz and current Senator Lindsey Graham sitting on next to him, and they just nodding their head.
Right. And yeah, and to your point about Greg Abbott in the state of Texas, we talked about this a little bit last week or the week before, and it's like, I'm not sure what it takes for people to decide, like, this is not good enough, this is not how I want to live. And I would say the same with Ted Cruz. I mean, this dude was about to abandon y'all for real when it got too cold for him. He was gonna abandon y'all and let y'all figure it out.
He did. He just got caught in the airport and got embarrassed and shamed to come back.
Right. But
and then blame it on his wife and children.
And so that's when I'm just like, and so those are the two poster children that you put up next to Herschel Walker. I can't. Okay, moving on, because we running low on time.
Yeah, but it's an important topic for us to talk about.
Yes.
Oh.
And I like Patrice's last comment as well. That's another thing. Look, I did a little bit of phone banking, and I was told when we started the phone banking, it was, they try to start with the most popular candidate on the ballot, right? Because people usually recognize those names. And in my case, in the state of Arizona, somebody like Mark Kelly was the lead horse, to say, for lack of better words. And in my mind, and maybe because I watch TV, but even in the apps, there were a hell of a lot of political commercials. And so I was like, clearly, when they said, listen, you can't take for granted that people know who Mark Kelly is. Like, I'm thinking to myself, I think I can, because he's been running some ads. And yet after the first caller told me not to call him anymore, the second call, literally, when I asked, so have you heard about, do you know who Senator Mark Kelly is? No. Okay, well, and I'm like, he's a former, NASA astronaut, he's our current senator, but I can't even get to the people down here on the ballot, because the lead, you have not even heard of him. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So when I'm thinking, like, all the time I see these these folks who are still on the fence on television, I'm like, you ain't on the fence. It ain't no way you still on the fence at this point in the election. maybe they are on the fence, because clearly some people have absolutely no clue. And so more of us, you're right, Patrice, more of us need to be willing to go work for those bigger organizations, like paid organizations, but also to volunteer as well. Because if we want to see different folks come into, office, they need help, especially if they don't have the budgets that other candidates have. They need that volunteer power. Okay, I'm done. Sorry.
All right, all right. And Patrice has more comments. Y'all check out all her comments there.
Congratulations to Patrice, who won her election.
Woohoo!
And tell me the Pasadena School Board, I believe, Patrice, but tell me exactly. Pasadena, California School Board. But congratulations.
Yeah. Congratulations. We need actually everybody who's listening and watching, you can run for something. You can absolutely run for something. Now they're gonna have all this Hey Sister footage, so they're gonna hold that against us.
Yes.
But but everybody within the sound of our voice can run for something. So think about it. Think about even just getting involved in some sort of way. And that might just be, like we said, you might be the head letter writer.
Yeah.
So she said, volunteers for our community make the difference. People are more willing to listen to trusted voices. Absolutely. And we need more in our community. So I don't know which topic you want to end on tonight, sister. Maybe because we had this Jerry Jones photo thing to talk about, but I don't think we have time to really dive all the way deep in it like we want to.
I don't know that it needs to be dove deep into. Jerry Jones was in a photo at 14 years old. If I recall, North Little Rock High School was attempting to integrate. He was curious, so he showed up and he was captured on the photo. Obviously, the photo is from 1957, so many people are like, why do we care about this in 2022? And the long and short of it for me is I care about it in 2022 because if we're giving a 14-year-old a pass for being just curious, I think they already had other desegregation protests, school desegregation protests happening, and we know what happened to all of them. So what was you curious about? Whether you was going to throw a rock or spit? I mean, what were you curious about? And second, if you don't want me to hold Jerry Jones at 14 years old accountable for his presence while Black kids were trying to integrate the school, then I don't know why Emmett Till didn't get some grace at 14 years old for allegedly whistling at a white woman. And I don't know why Tamir Rice didn't get grace at 12 years old for playing in the park with a fake gun when there are people running around here with real guns and they get apprehended without issue. And that 17, 18-year-old Trayvon Martin didn't get any grace from a dude who is you, as we like to say now. Who is you? George Zimmerman. He didn't get grace. So yeah, people want to say it happened so long ago and it doesn't matter anymore, or this is an old picture, it's resurfaced, or he said he was just curious. I'm sorry. As Patricia said, 14-year-olds have been put to death in this country. So don't tell me he didn't know or he was just curious. He went with the intent, and he played football, and his coach had told them not to go, and you still went. So how different are you today, Jerry, than that 14-year-old? You're a billionaire, but I don't understand why we always giving billionaires grace as if that makes having money makes it different. So what are your thoughts, sister?
Ooh, girl, you done dragged me into this one. So I'm gonna say this. Last weekend, we had the privilege and the honor to be at a ceremony honoring our father, who integrated the athletic program at Nicholls State University in 1968. So this is some
11 years
11
old.
years after this photo was taken. And there were people there of every race and background. But some of the people who really stood out to me, as we said, Coach Landry and Miss Lucille, his wife, who were like, it was time. And Coach Landry recruited him and brought him there. There were times when he could not go home and he went to their house. You know, there were certain things that his movements were restricted.
Mm-hmm.
So as our speaker last week talked about arrested mobility, right? Some of
Mm-hmm.
his movement and things that he was able to do as an 18-year-old at that time were restricted. But nonetheless, there were those friends like a Nick Nelson or a Larry Howell who were his friends in that time. And so I'm going to say that at 14, when you are coming into your own, certainly at 18, as these young people were, and our father included, your character shows up and you know what's right and you know what's wrong. Do we evolve and change over time? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Do we grow? Absolutely. Um, if that evolution is profit driven, then I don't necessarily give you a pass because those who he is in relationship with, it is a profit motive. Who is he in relationship with that does not look like him, where there is no profit motive?
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the question I would ask for anybody who's defending and or justifying or talking about the moves, like, okay, but he was young and he grew up, blah, 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 blah. I think about those people those friends of my father who chose to be friends in 1968, because they could have chose to be on the side of where Jerry stood, and they didn't. They were curious about getting to know another human being.
Yes.
And that's a different type of curiosity.
Yes.
He didn't go stand on the side of somebody and walk in with them. He didn't defend because at 14, you can start making those choices. Because really, a large part of even in the civil rights movement, what started shifting things were children were out there protesting, even
Right.
as young as 8 and 9 years old, because they knew what was right. So you knew what was right, and you may have grown and evolved, and you might even have some black friends. But if all your black friends are on your payroll, then I would suggest that they're not your friends at all.
Well, you know what? I want to say something. I'm sorry, but you made a very great point there. I spoke so in working on the documentary, I spoke with a gentleman who was a professor um, who grew up in Boston. And our first conversation, because his work is very entrenched in um, the American South and African American history. And when we first talked, he grew up in Boston, and he said that at 12 he decided to be anti-racist. And his what you just said reminded me of that, because he said growing up he saw everybody was being racist, all his schools, the people he went to school with, and he saw it and he knew that could have been the easier route to take. But he decided at 12 years old, I don't want to be that. And began his being anti-racist at 12. So yeah, Jerry. I mean, and Stephen A.
And
Smith can give you a pass, but we don't really rock with him all day, all night either. So therefore, no.
but so like you said, this person decided at 12. Well, at 22, at 32, or at for Jerry Jones at 24, at 34, at 44, 54, 64, and whatever else along
At
his life.
104 or 144, however old he is right
But
now.
whatever along his life journey. What's also interesting is in this conversation, and even other like you said, Stephen A. Smith had some comments, and Michael Harriot has a long tweet about it. There has not been an apology.
Right.
There has not been, when I was 14, I went along with the crowd. Was not strong enough to stand up for my own beliefs. And there's no humbleness and no humility, because he also was the first one who said, nobody's going to kneel, and those players going to, like, he was the first one to do all of that too. So no, boo, that's who you are.
Yes. It just showed up in an image at 14.
Yeah. So at least that's what I think. Ooh, child. Well, y'all were tuned in tonight to Hey Sister. We thank y'all for joining us. We hope y'all enjoyed some of this conversation. It's just us tonight, and we are getting ready to get through the rest of this calendar year. We have a few more episodes for you as we prepare to close out 2022 and look forward to 2023. So thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the Hey Sister family. Thank you for rocking with us every week. That's all I got to say. What do you want to say in closing, sister?
Yeah, and thank y'all for being active in the comments and adding questions and commentary. We love it. I love the last two comments from Patrice and Geneva. So thank you both. I don't know if you want to flip them on the screen real quick, sister, but thank you all for joining us tonight and giving just great participation, because we love it and we appreciate it. It makes the show go by so much quicker. So thank you.
Yes, it does. Thank y'all. Good night, everybody.